We're seeing how the things keep on smiling from the community.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the Sherwood School Board to order for our bond work session for October 14th, 2020. Mr. Rose.
Good evening, board. Exciting to be here this October evening. We have a few items to cover with you, some kind of exciting news. We're really wrapping up the bond and everybody's report on that. First, I would say that we don't have any follow-up topics specifically. We'll address some items with Casey's help here in a moment. And then our financial summary, as you can see, that the changes there are mostly in the uncommitted budgets. We've committed a lot of our resources into buildings, and we continue even to this date going ahead and balancing our scope and budget so that way we remain on track to complete the bond with some resources left in the bank. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Casey Cunningham and let him talk to you about an update on the summer projects. Casey?
Thanks, Jim. So last time we talked, just kind of giving you an update on where we are with the punch list. And so now we're kind of at the stage where we basically have our long lead punch list items. And so I'll kind of list you kind of the things that we're working on to kind of finish up. I'll start with the ridges. So today actually we installed our fire doors, which were right there at the main entrance. They came in, they were 2 inches too tall. So then, you know, we reordered those. And so kind of fighting that. The roll-up, there's a new roll-up door at the kitchen, came in damaged, so we had to reorder that. So those coming in. And then we have our keying company that does the work is door pop up, and they had some internal issues that we had to work through that made all of our keying and all 4 of the projects come in a little bit late. So Ken's team, Ian, you know, managed all the, we got cores for all our exteriors, so we're nice and secure any of our new doors and critical interior doors, but now we're kind of getting our last pieces of our door hardware. And keying, moving on to the EST project, we have additional cabinetry coming in for room 1 and 2, and then also our cabinetry in the, we went solid in the library that we get our permanent rolling shelving cabinets to replace those fancy Lyle temporary stuff. And the also there we have the out back. You guys saw the climbing rack. We did that on the exterior, finish up the exterior playground area. So just kind of working through those long lead items there as well. DOT, we have the same door hardware, and then kind of we have some interior modifications going to the border that we're kind of working. New high school. So the last area that we kind of finished was the theater, and so we're kind of working through some punch list items in there. There's some site work issues with some drainage that we're trying to work through, and just really buttoning that project up. I mean, it was Scansers ago, a humongous task considered Rick as far as getting that place looking as good as it is and as good as it can be. And we ended up with like about 6,000 punch list items. We do the pre-punch that Scansers did and the punch list that Rick put together. So the Scansers team has been really diligent. We've had a team of 2, I mean, no less than 4 people. They are still there, you know, making sure we get this thing done and that it's to the satisfaction of the district. So really impressed with that. MST, same door hardware, and then we also have some of our new interior lighting is in there. We have what they're called solar tubes, and so it's basically a circular skylight, but then at the ceiling level, there's a diffuser, and that diffuser kind of lets the light in and out. We have a couple of those vents that aren't working properly, let the right amount of light in, and then a couple of them are exposed, and so we just kind of, they weren't satisfactory with how they brought that metal piece in, so we're getting some new metal stuff. Wrapping those pieces up, there's also a new entry fencing out there on the basically the athletic side that has some door hardware and some long lead items. Once you put the fence in, you have to order the gates, and so those gates got put in today. So getting really close on all 4 of the transformation projects in New High School. The county roadworks, same thing. Today we poured the last pieces of sidewalk on 99 West. So that was a big milestone. It was one of the things that the city was really looking for us to have complete to basically kind of fulfill the county's obligation to have our school ready, essentially. So, you know, is to have all lights operational and all sidewalks installed and inspected and accepted. So we are working with the county to get a letter written, basically stating that they've deemed it safe and accessible for the remaining for the school students to be able to walk to school, which allows us to have the occupancy that we've kind of been lagging. And I mean, we talked internally. I mean, the city's been open to all of our requests to use the school. They just kind of used this as kind of leverage with the county to be able to get what they wanted. So we feel good about where we're at with the project, and we're excited to have that on Friday. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions from the group on status of projects?
Just one for me. You mentioned drainage, and I was up there, I don't know, several weeks ago, and clearly, as you go to the front where there's the lower area that was
That's
sprinkler.
the ship entrance.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed was kind of an oil sheen in some of the water. Do you know, was I just there at the wrong time, or have you guys identified any problem around leakage or anything?
No, we haven't seen anything of that. A lot of times we see that with kind of the runoff just from it being dry for so long, you know, and the pooling of the area. I mean, it's such a big pool there. I bet it's just surface oils from,
Got it.
you know, they treat the sidewalks as they pour it for curing and things like that. I bet that's just a runoff there. But yeah, we're adding 2 drains in that area. They're actually going to get that started on Monday and to be able to capture that water that was collecting there. And then a couple of areas, one above the north upper parking lot as well.
Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Jump up real quick and ask that Rick Rayon come and talk to you about the bond moving to close. So next steps, and then to give you kind of a more in-depth financial picture than the one I just showed you a moment ago. With that, Rick?
And while Rick's taking the podium, just a note, we have folks, you might recognize that this seems more formal than we would typically do in a work session, but it's the best way to get those speakers on camera. And so just know too that even though it feels this way, it's very much a conversation, and that's how we want it to be. So just a side note about that.
Thank you, Rick, before I get up here, Heather.
You bet, right? Happy to help.
Yeah, Superintendent Cordy, board chair, board administrators. It's been a while since I've seen you. We've come a long ways since we started in 2016. What Jim asked me to do is share with you our closeout process, which we have a formal process that we go through, and I'll go over that. And then give you kind of a view of where we are financially by project. It's, when you hear where we are, my feeling is amazing. And we'll see how it goes. So the closeout process for us, we have a closeout checklist that we've developed and used for decades. And as we close out each contract, the checklist reminds us all the things we need to get from contractors, city, inspectors, different things. So my project managers will work through that on the transformations in the high school. The other thing we have to do is balance all the project budgets now. So we've been managing somewhere around 35 project budgets since we got here. Some of them have already been closed, and there's no money left. Some still have money left in them, and we'll close those out to find out how much we have left after we complete them. And the other thing we have to do, and this is really important, we're going to develop a warranty process where the district, probably through Kim's office, will notify the contractor of anything that they need to fix in the warranty phase on their nickel. And it's really important that you do that. Some clients don't do that. Contractors get away with not truly finishing the job. I know you will do that, and we have a process that we will help with. The last piece we do in closeout is the state statutes, when we do CMDC, tell us that we have to discuss, did we meet the findings that we talked about when I came here and said, I recommend this alternative method. If you'll remember, we had findings and rationale. We have to go through a process to create a written document to discuss did we meet our findings. A piece of that is we have to do some form of audits. And Jim and I are beginning to talk about that. We're going to talk to Dr. Cordy about it. There's everything from we hire a certified auditor and just let them go. There is someone on my team takes a look at certain letters of authorization that we authorize? Do they track and audit? Or do we use Phil to do something right in the middle where we just pick a couple of projects and that will help us with an audit there? We're going to talk to Dr. Corey about that and decide. So that's a closeout process. It's important, it takes time, and we're committed, just like we were to all the other phases, that we do a good job in the closeout process. For the financial side, when Casey and Craig and Jim started showing me this, 2 months ago I was a little bit nervous. A month ago I was really nervous, and today I'm not nervous. So the process worked. Give you a couple of kind of high-level views of where we are financially. If you look at the financial report that Jim gives you, I'd like to point out a few line items there if I could. If you look under original budget, has everybody been able to find that? If you look under original budget, the original budget was $247,500,000 with different things, bond sales, grants that we got. We raised the bond and the commitment to $27,372,000. Right now, we've committed $269,000, and I want to draw your attention to the uncommitted budget to see where the construction projects are. If you look at uncommitted, that includes the money for technology and curriculum. So if you look down at that $7,465,000, you're sitting there saying, we got a lot of money left. That's for curriculum and technology. If you reduce the bottom line by the uncommitted amount for curriculum and technology, we have $360,000 left, plus or minus, on $277 million.
That's impressive.
That's as tight as I've taken it in a while. But what I committed is we'll finish the project and you might have $5 left in your account. I think we have a shot. I feel comfortable now that we're going to be able to finish the project with the money we have. The way this goes is you go through a week, you get bad news, and you hope you get some good news the next week. And we went through all of it in the last 4 weeks. Jim has been a rock, just never budged, and said, just keep us informed where we are. The last good news is we believe now that we're going to get more money back from the county than we originally believed. Casey has had incredible patience. No one on that team would work at the pace we wanted to, and we would go months with no questions answered, and I'll just leave it at that. It's been complicated, but we now are trying to close the project out. The county believes it's safe. That's work to do with the city. But any questions about the closeout process or the fact that you have $360,000 left on $277 million?
Questions for Rick?
How long is the warranty, the process that you mentioned? Depends on
Good
the
question. The standard warranty between the district and their contractor is 12 months. So we have a document called substantial completion that is executed by the contractor and by the district. So 12 months from that date, and each of these contracts are going to have different substantial completions. So that's 12 months. In addition to that, in our owner's manuals, we bought extended warranty on some material and some equipment. So there's a 12-month warranty, just whatever happens, Mr. Contractor, come fix it. After that, it gets a little more complicated in that if there's a problem, we have to deal with the manufacturer for equipment or material. But for things like roofing equipment and HVAC equipment, the really expensive stuff, we made sure that we bought in the bid, extended warranties past that 1 year. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Jessica?
Yeah, so I've got a couple questions if I may. The first, did we account for the COVID costs? So what additional expenses we incurred as a result of COVID? We calculated that separately from everything else.
Yeah, so when you do a CMDC project or even a design to build project, the only way a contractor gets more money is issues a change order request, and then my team processes it. We talk to Jim about it. Sometimes we push back, sometimes we agree. Both on the hard bid or design bid build process and CMDC, if there were real costs related to COVID, the contract gave them a right to present that to us. I think the high school has by far had the most. Did we account for it? The contingency absorbed it, okay? It is not something when I built the budget, I said, oh, better put some contingency in for COVID.
Yeah, I don't know why you didn't account for a worldwide pandemic there, right?
Next time I will. Next time I will. But, yeah, it's, you know, when we did this budget 2016, and if you do the math there, you're going to find out that we bought $30 million more scope than we originally thought we could.
Yeah.
Through different ways that we brought money to the project. That $30 million allowed us to do incredible things at the high school, incredible things at the transformations. If you study the current budget, like current budget for the high school is $184 million, you know, we're spending $207 million there. Same thing at the transformation, so I'm not going to go through each one of them, but as we started that design process and Heather led a lot of committees, we realized we had to do more than we originally budgeted, and you know, so far we're on budget. So
Yeah, I asked that for two reasons, and not at all critical of the fact that it came out of where it came out of. I think one, it's an incredible story that given everything we face, that we are on time, on budget, completion, and it's kind of a miracle. I think it is worth telling this community, you know, not only were we responsible and how we did all of this, but we managed these additional costs that we could not have foreseen at the time that you all approved this.
right.
Within the contingency, that speaks to the professionalism of our entire team. So I really want to be able to tell that story in kind of a hard way, but I also think we still don't know what the federal government will send or won't send, or their ability to spend the money here or not. So having a discrete accounting of what that is, if there becomes an opportunity that allows us to claim some of those costs and recoup them, it'd be useful to have that as a discrete number, if that's possible at all, to kind of go back and look at some of the change orders and figure out if we can figure out that cost.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I think you bring up an excellent point, and I should have brought it up. So we can talk about it now, but when you have a bond that's successful, it sets up the next bond.
Yeah.
But you have to document what you did, because who knows who's sitting there? You know, Casey will still be around. But I think you need to document this story. It's one of the best I've ever been a part of. And I think there were a lot of wise decisions made, you know, all things considered. The design process was strong, permit process was interesting, but we lived through it all. And I think the story should be told.
And Jessica, we will bring back for next board meeting as a follow-up topic, the COVID cost, and give you that
Yeah.
number.
And then the only other thing is on the CMGC, as one of the culprits of protecting that for a while earlier in my career, around that second report, most people don't even do it. So my strong recommendation is we should do it and behave ourselves, but I would spend as little on the audit process as is feasible, because no one else even does it.
I believe we have a path for it to cost the district nothing and still do a good job. And we'll talk to Dr. Cody about that. I think our final report on the bond should include, we used the CMDC process and got tremendous benefits from it, you know, with transformation. Now, I think we picked the right projects to go design, bid, build. I also believe we picked the right projects to go CMDC, and I appreciate the board allowing us to do that, even though it was, you know, some districts haven't had great success. It's not good. Any other questions?
Just
Jessica,
one,
go ahead.
one thought, not so much a thing, but to the point of telling the story, which I think is really, really important, for people who won't be here the next time, and I'm gonna be the first to raise my hand on that. I do think that it is helpful for, just like we did about halfway through, we communicated directly with the community about kind of a status report. May not be a bad idea. In fact, I think it's probably a pretty useful idea to communicate directly with them again once the projects are, you know, we're closed on the construction and say, you know, here's what happened.
A close-up report, right?
Well, it may
And the
make
bond oversight committee is planning to do one more report.
Right.
And that will be the focus topic of their next meeting, which we bumped into the early part of December.
Yeah.
So that will be their third and final report.
Eric and then Sue.
Yeah, that's what, I'm sorry.
I had one quick question about the warranty work, and that is, since we don't have students in the building right now, are there any areas that you are concerned about because we won't be kind of stress testing things as you normally would over the course of the 12 months?
Yeah, good question.
I can speak to it a little bit. We're planning at the high school and looking at several of the transformations to go in and utilize things, faucets, just all the different things and try and put them to use at least. We already have tested like every faucet and make sure that they don't leak and found some that did and things like that. So, but there's some things we just can't stress with 1,700 bodies, but we're going to attempt to use things in a way that tries to give us some of that information.
Yeah, and you know, a decision you're gonna have to make is, do you turn on the air conditioning system and heating system when kids aren't there to really test it? And, you know, what I've learned is we bring in third-party inspectors on the systems that have been problematic in the past. We have a third-party inspector watch the roof and windows. We tested a lot of the windows. Most of the time the tests were great. In the cases where the tests weren't great, we went and fixed them. The mechanical equipment, we hired a commissioning agent to, you know, test the system. So we've done, I think, what is typically done on public projects. We've done what we can. There's no question it won't get the same wear and tear without students that would with students, but we also pick high quality products. We didn't always go for the lowest cost products because that can backfire. And your district, I think, has been wise in that regard. So it would be great if kids are out there giving it a shot, but I think we're in pretty decent shape with what we have, in my opinion.
Sue.
Well, I was just gonna second, Jim made a comment about the bond oversight committee. I think coming from them, it's great. We don't need to be giving ourselves a pat on the back. But from that group to kind of give the overall and have that available potentially too for the people, you know, that get to do the next bond, hopefully a long ways down the road. You know, that's great information because that's 2 in a row where we've knocked it out of the park. So yeah, if they can do that, I think that would be well received.
And so that's exactly what I was thinking about, was not from us, because it shouldn't come from us, but from them.
I would also add that we as a staff are going to do a lessons learned. So that way, whether it's Casey and Ken still here doing this or whoever it might be, that they can pick up from us what we did well and what we could learn from. And so that 5 years, 10 years, however far down the road the next bond is, that might be helpful to the next group.
And what I would add, in my opinion, and well, I've been doing this for 30 years, but building a successful high school and getting it done on time and on budget is one of the more challenging things a district does. And there's plenty of districts around you that can't say that. You'll be able to say that for a long, long time. So yeah, there's some stories, but we'll work through the bond oversight committee and kind of bring those back as kind of key reports.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Great to see you all.
Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Rose, anything else?
I don't believe so, sir. I think we're good.
I do have a question. So for Ken and Jim, since we've got a little bit of time, one of the things that I think it would be interesting to hear your thoughts about are how we're going to approach some of the projects or some of the areas that were not initially in scope, but that we know now that the dust is settling, if you will, within these projects, how we're going to tend to those or prioritize them, or how we'll decide. So I know I'm putting it on the spot, but it just occurred to me that would be a good thing to hear something about.
You want me to cover it or you want me to?
Well, I'll do the informal and then we cover the formal. So informally, we already started taking things on this summer, things that we either couldn't afford in scope or chose not to put in. Our team has already done like at the middle school, almost all the painting we did ourselves, which saved us about $40,000, things like that. And we're continuing to do paint jobs all over the district. We tried to take those out of scope wherever we could, or any indoor painting that wasn't 2 stories, we tried to take ourselves. And so things like that, we tried to take on. Any minor things inside, painting things on walls, moving things on walls, we tried to do all of that ourselves. But Jim can talk about the formal process, how we're prioritizing.
So we are actually creating a list of the things that were not in scope, but we'd like to do. I actually brought one to the superintendent this afternoon, and it's really minor, but we don't have the water bottle filling stations everywhere we'd like. And that's one of those that if Rick's right and we have a few dollars left in the bank, we might choose to go do. There's a few others that are more safety related that I think are to be a higher priority. Safety and security will certainly be the highest priority as I'm starting to look at those. And so we're developing that list. We really, I feel, we need to come to where are we at exactly. Let's make sure all the bills are paid, everything's done to the point that we feel confident of what the number is at the bottom of the page. I feel confident here. I just know we've got a little work left to do. But once we know that number, then we can start looking at, okay, what are the things that really now are above and beyond the scope that we originally planned? And what can we go tackle? Of course, we will continue to put together our deferred maintenance list that you've seen us do with that application we put together about 2 years ago. We will try, if budget allows, to continue to have money put aside for deferred maintenance each year, so that way Ken's team can start addressing those things. We prioritize those each spring, as you know, as part of the budget cycle. So it's going to be a little bit of grabbing a couple different lists and maintaining those, and then figuring out what resources we have and what are the biggest needs that we need to go address. So that's where we're headed. Yeah, it's great. We've got walls that were, I don't know what you call that. Robin's egg blue last week, and they are white now, and it's much better. And it's good to see things happening, even as the bond wraps up. Our team keeps moving forward.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Just have closing comment. There are no more questions.
No more questions.
Okay. So Karina and Casey and Rick, and if Skanska was here, would certainly include them as well. But I know we'll have an opportunity for some more closure to just these years of these projects and working so closely together. But I just don't want to miss the opportunity this evening to just tell you while you're all here in person, truly what a pleasure it has been to work with such professionals with the integrity and kindness and thoughtfulness that you all demonstrate each and every day, and you have for years with us. And we you all have started long ago to feel like family and just part of the team. And I'm just so thankful, we are so thankful and so proud to have been doing these projects alongside you. And to be able to have the kind of trusting relationships with a lot of humor and, good laughs along the way that we all have enjoyed is something that not very many superintendents and their teams and their districts and boards can say. So we are so appreciative. I personally am, and it really has been an honor to work with all of you, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And on that note, we will adjourn our work session.